Hello everyone, Lee here from a Yorkshire small holding. This video is just a little bit, I guess, to talk about the Solis 50. This is the 4-wheel drive cab 50 horsepower tractor that we had supplied to us by Iron and Earth. Fantastic service from those guys and girls, by the way. But the Solis 50, what we're using here, is just for managing our small holding, which is not really a small holding at all yet. It's just a field at the back of our house. Now the Solis 50, we're coming up to 24.5 hours of use right now. Oh, there we go. Has actually performed flawlessly from day one. We're using a Winton flail mower, slightly put it up right now, because we've got a 10 acre paddock of grass, which has got a hell of a lot of corn poppy growing in it at the moment. All good fun. But the longer term plan is to obviously get ourselves set up with a small plough. We're going to be doing a little bit of spreading in here as well. We're going to be having some chickens, some alpacas, and then my wife is very keen on getting ourselves as self-sufficient as possible when it comes to vegetable growing and fruit growing. So our back garden, our allotment, are all going to slowly migrate to the field. We've got 20 or 30 tonne of compost that's been delivered that we're going to drag in and run into the ground soon as well. But for the time being, we're just all on basically keeping the grass in the field looking like it's owned by somebody and not growing out of control. But the Solis 50 has been a steeple workhorse really as far as this is concerned. I'm running, the grass is about 40 centimetres in places. It goes as high as 75 centimetres towards the lower end of the field, which we've not ventured into at this depth yet. But in 2-wheel drive mode, there's levers all the way forward. We're in low box and we're in 4th gear. You can see we're quite easily sitting within the PTO arc, as it were, with no stress whatsoever. It's a relatively warm evening. It's 19 degrees. It's quite humid, but we've got the AC working beautifully for us here. The flail, well, I'll talk to you a little bit about these couple of levers in due course. Actually, the manual is as confusing can be when it comes to what the auto lift and the draft is for. Even the guys at the suppliers were struggling to give me a full and honest answer, so we've got it set up how we think it's working well for us now. But we've obviously got an offset here, so we can shove the actual flail out by a good 60 centimetres if we need to get up against you know, barriers and fences and other bits and pieces that you can see that we've got bordering all around our field per se. Bit of navigation coming up now. Around we go. I myself am very new to agricultural machinery. I've come from a background of installing cinema systems and selling hi-fi equipment. So this is all completely new. We've got a 3-year-old daughter who loves sitting in the tractor, which does mean that my evenings basically after work are coming out in here and having a bit of fun. We've got the front loader, as you can see, on the 50. We actually needed this for business purposes. Our shop's on the 2nd floor of an old barn, and getting heavy equipment up meant that actually getting something that can work in the field for us but also work by moving pallets around means it's multifunctional, and it does so with a sterling job. I've been ordering some bulk bags of topsoil, crush and run, other bits and pieces recently. I'm able to move comfortably, I'd say 600 kilos. The 850 kilo bags that come, it does struggle. Now, I'm on agricultural tyres, and I have let a bit of air down just so I'm not sat and causing too much ruts in the field. If it was being kept as a grass paddock, I'd probably put turf tyres on, but because the longer term plan obviously is small holding with more agricultural work, we've kept the agri tyres on. The reason why 850 kilos is a bit of a challenge is the tyres are really run quite hard, the power steering all but fails, and it is on the limit of what the actual arm linkage can take. So we had to move a couple hundred kilos out by hand. We've got a quad and a trailer, which made easy work of that really. But quite able to move 600 kilos around quite easy with this. And again, in terms of an actual reach, you know, you can get pretty high up with the loader itself. We've got obviously the Euro 8 hitch on here with a set of pallet forks. I've got a 4-in-1 bucket as well, which will come in useful when we start to move more of the actual ground around, as it were, and compost and God knows whatever else we're moving in here soon. But yes, so far this tractor's been superb. 80 litre tank. The field's 10 acres. It sort of goes around here on a bit of a dog leg, as you can see. So, you know, not a small field. It's quite awkward in its shape as well. There's no real straight run to be done, and again, still getting used to the lines that's ultimately involved here. But that said, I probably get about 6 cuts to a tank. The tractor's kept in the farm locally to us, which is great. So it's not a massive road trek. It is agricultural registered, it's on the road, and it's obviously got registration plates, so it does go on the road. It does about 26 miles an hour. Feels slow when everybody's flying by you, but luckily we've got long straight roads around here where we don't have too much bother with people being able to get by if they need to. So we're going to have a little bit of a venture around the perimeter of the field right now. Have a quick look behind us. It's looking alright. We enjoy taking the dog for walks on evenings, and round here it's a little bit long for the little dog at the minute, so if I create an exterior path, at least she'll be able to get herself in. It'll also give you an idea of what the performance is like of this little tractor. Like I say, I'm in 2-wheel drive mode. 4-wheel drive is not a problem at all. I can just shift the lever whilst driving. Low box 4th gear. This is the Winton flail 200, so it's a 2 metre wide flail. It's an offset as well. We're using one of the 2 sets of takeoff valves at the back. PTO wise, so power takeoff, this lever here, obviously you've got live PTO, which is what we're using right now, and that's where you're basically setting your engine speed and its tractor speed. Your ground PTO requires you to push this button down here, which basically bypasses the dead man switch, which is on the chair that I'm sitting on, and allows you to work on things like a table saw or a post hole borer at the back of the tractor, so in a non-moving state. So PTO is quite straightforward once you've got your head around which version you should be using. Obviously we've got a handbrake down here, low and high box, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, clutch. We've got independent braking if we need it. We've got diff lock on the heel if we need it. Obviously we've got accelerator pedal, as well as setting your revs on here as well. Apologies if I'm getting the terminology wrong. Like I say, still getting quite used to this. Then we've got obviously the auto lift, and we've also got the draft setting here as well. And I've got these keyed off at the cut distance and height that I want for the field. As we get around here, the grass is getting significantly longer now. And in fact, you can see where I've done a little run around this outside previously. Lovely little bit of a pond going on here. We're fully ditched all the way around us. Can get interesting if you get your tyres on the outside of the ditch. Squeaky bum time. We have got a family of deer in here as well, actually, which is very pretty to see on an evening, especially this time of day. Sometimes we see them bounding about, which is pretty cool. One of the luxuries of I guess having a bit of land that you can come and explore and see what wildlife's all around. It's basically a drainage pond is this. It's managed by, I think, the Coal Authority, and up in the distance over here we've actually got a canal, so we believe it's pumped up there. We've got wheat growing everywhere. Wheat definitely the flavour of the year round where we are, at least. Most of the farmers have got a lot of wheat. Typically it's wheat or rapeseed oil, but this year it's absolutely wheat everywhere. The ditches are about 4.5 foot, so they can be quite excited if you get down there. Oh, a bit of a hill, a bit of a longer grass, but we're still in the zone. The flail's doing a cracking job. And yeah, the grass is definitely getting a bit tall around here. I do try and pinch a little bit back every now and then, so I'm obviously on the phone here, so I'm not being as adventurous as I would be in terms of getting right into the ditches, but obviously trying to keep your field and your borders as controlled as possible is no bad thing. Looks like there's been a fox or something flattening the ground down here. We do have foxes, rabbits, hares, like I say, some lovely deer show their faces every now and then as well. So yeah, this grass up here is now well above the tyres, but some people say that the 26 is a little bit underpowered for this type of grass, but genuinely never had an issue with a 50 in anything we've thrown at it yet. Not been into the deeper stuff here, obviously, on this pass, but I have no doubt that it'll perform without any problems whatsoever. Into the sun, we have got obviously there we go. Roll that down, it's a bit better. And to put it away, little button here, that's quite nice. I've got some gigs on, so there's no issues there. Obviously rear screen open, side panels open as well. It has got aircon, so I'm a pretty bad hay fever sufferer, so aircon for me is pretty good actually. Lots of weeds growing over here, nice condition as well. It's got front working lights, rear working lights. Obviously it's got amber beacon, front and rear wipers with spray. The rear wiper's interesting because you're going to press a switch over here. It has got CD player, stereo built in, no Bluetooth though. I have to sort that out. Can't be listening to the radio all day long. I need my tunes. What else can I say about the tractor? I think we paid all in, including VAT, about £32,000 as it's here right now. So that's with the flail, the front loader, the forks, the 4-in-1 bucket was extra. I think it was about 800 or 900 quid. So it's not a ridiculously expensive tractor. And like I say, for what we're using it for, it's absolutely cracking really. You can really tell when you're going across your ruts in terms of the bouncing. Give you a little walk around the outside actually, just for a second. Oh. Drop her into neutral, PTO's off. You'll hear the clunking in a second as the flail settles down. But this is what she looks like, obviously. She's a cracking looking tractor. You'll hear it clunking as the teeth slow down. There we go, just a second. Do try and keep this as clean as possible as I'm going. Don't want that clogging up too much. Things on the Winton you've got to look out for. A couple of grease nipples. Got one in here, one at the back for the rear roller. Obviously got your gearbox here. Nice and hot, obviously PTO coming down. Checking the levels on that every time I run it. It's not burnt anything at all so far. Obviously it's Cat 2 linkage on this. You can see the one takeoff we're using for the flail itself. Got two more nipples, grease nipples on here. One thing I did learn quite early is you don't want to be lifting this up while the PTO's doing. You could really hear the PTO knuckle grinding itself. So having to get used to, obviously you can reverse with it down as long as the ground is nice and level. You can add water to these into the tyres if you need some extra ballast as well. Say agricultural tyres all round for me. One thing I did have a problem with, this wire. This wire feeds, I believe, the valve up on this arm here for the second takeoff, i.e. for the 4-in-1 bucket, and it melted and caught itself on here. So I need to, I've strapped it out of the way for the time being, but it does need sorting properly, does that. That's a job to be done. Nice and clean underneath, very accessible from a servicing perspective. Like I say, the only one thing I've had go wrong with it so far is that wire catching, and there was an issue as well. So there was two issues. The second issue was one of the valves on the hydraulic lines at the front was ever so slightly weeping, but that got nipped up and was sorted pretty quickly. Battery in the front, can put 300 kilos of weight on the front if you need it. I've got the loader on and the flail, which doesn't need anything extra whatsoever. You've also got a couple of things down here. Should really talk about this. Didn't really understand what it was for at first, but that there is basically your relief valve. That dictates how quickly oil passes through the oil lines for the back. So when you're using your lift up and down your draft setting, if that's set to be quite aggressive, i.e. the valve's open, the flail was dropping down and clunking on the ground. Setting a bit of resistance on there means that ultimately now it comes up and down in nice steady stages, I guess, like so. So with this, I'm leaving the auto lift in the up position, and I'm just using this one to set my depth. So set this to my stops, down it goes, and that means I'm not dragging it across the ground whatsoever. Flail lever, so I can send it out, in and out with the outside one, and the second one's not used in this setup that I'm running here right now. I need to get cracked on. Hope you found this video useful. Like I say, my name's Lee. Little YouTube channel that's going to be developing soon called a Yorkshire Small Holding, and I hope you found this video useful. Thank you.